can censor, you can hack, but you can't stop us from writing.
Blogs are new forms of democratic journalism because a blogger is essentially coming from any part of the society, so has a genuine and correct and really personal understanding of the issues at hand in the society.
The situation of media didn't change at all. The same for the police, who is still using violence. The justice is not independent yet. We have to carry on the fight.
This is about people who are making a difference in their countries, speaking out and risking their lives.
Civil journalists, let's say, are the only real people that are getting the news out there, because in a country like Syria, they don't allow any media to enter the country ever since the revolution started.
Self-censorship is the most effective, so practice freedom of speech every day.
The Bobs are about recognizing the tremendous work of bloggers and social media activists worldwide, because they have very, very important stories to tell. And we as Deutsche Welle, we believe in their right to tell these stories.
The only thing that I am afraid in my life is not to do the things like I am feeling that I need to do it.
The Bobs 2013, Best of Online Activism.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Connie Chimoch.
Wonderful good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and may I congratulate all of you, because you're going to spend a fabulous 1 hour with us here, making those people that are making a difference in their countries and around the globe feel special. Forget about the sun outside, the heat is too much anyway. Mind you, we've been wanting to have the sun for such a long time, so we shouldn't complain. Lovely to see you all, ladies and gentlemen, for the 9th time. It's the Bobs, i.e. the editorial outfit behind that has been working for almost 10 years now. 2004 was the first year, so we're gearing up to that big jubilee next year. This year, again, it's been a year in which many, many, many things have happened in the blogosphere, but these days, of course, we don't talk about blogosphere anymore. We talk about net citizenship, and the internet has become, has almost come of age. How much so, we'll hear from one of the jury members who's been monitoring the advance and the changes quite a bit. Now, this year, again, we have 3 more languages with Ukraine, Turkish, and Hindi. Thank you, Ute. And ladies and gentlemen, that means that there are 14 language categories. But the categories that we're going to view and that we're going to meet the awardees of are 6, and they are the sort of royal disciplines. Of course, talking about royal and the internet, I think I better drop the word royal and say they're the sort of the height of net citizenship activism. More than 4,200 people, blogs, websites have been suggested. 364 were actually nominated. The jury had a lot to do. They didn't have to sit through all of them, but a hell of a lot of work was done. We'll hear about that in a second. And ladies and gentlemen, there was almost 1 additional jury member. She's actually got a different day job, but she just loves online activism so much. Ute Schäfer, who is editor-in-chief here at Deutsche Welle, has taken it to her heart to actually monitor. She's been at a lot of the jury sessions. You've watched the process very closely ever since the inception in February. So why don't you share your views with us now? Ute Schäfer, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear winners of this year's The Bobs. On behalf of Deutsche Welle, a very warm welcome to this year's Bobs Awards ceremony. I'm glad that you have come all the way. From China, Li Chengpeng. From Spain, Carl Li for Free Weibo. From Morocco, Uda Lamkadam, representing the project 475. From Bangladesh, Akta Mahfusa for the Info Ladies. From Germany, US, Stephanie Henke for me and my shadow. From Germany, Togo, Kojo Kiki Kouassi, standing in for his sister Fabi Kouassi, who is the laureate. And just to explain it, his sister Fabi Kouassi gave birth to a small girl, and the name of the girl is Shalom, 2 days ago. That's the reason why she isn't here. And I think... and we, the Bobs team and Deutsche Welle, have a very good proposal for a nickname. Call her also the Bobs. It is wonderful to have you here and to meet inspiring minds like yourselves. And I think that we should thank you for having incurred long travel trips to celebrate the Bobs Awards ceremony with us. Talking about inspiration, let me try to do that as well. Let me take you by the hand and imagine something very special. Once upon a time, there was a magical place. A place where freedom ruled and everything was just wide open. Everything was possible. People could say what they wanted. They could see the world and meet like-minded people from far, far away. They could exchange opinions and inform themselves about virtually everything. And everyone could get a proper education. But not everyone in this place was kind. Not everyone had good intentions. And rulers of the other world, those wicked witches, gazed with great uneasiness at all those independent voices. They heard things they did not like, the truth, and they feared for their power. So they decided to destroy the magic. What started off as a fairy tale-like story became a real-life question. In what kind of world do we want to live? The thing that is called social media is a curse on societies. Turkish Prime Minister Recep Erdogan only recently said. He described tools like Twitter as a menace full of unmitigated lies. For the people protesting against him and his politics, however, social media is one, if not the only, way of voicing their opinion publicly, of exercising their right of freedom of speech. It is their tool to get organized and to report about what is going on. The same is true for many other countries. Through social media, we learned about the massacres and ongoing civil war in Syria. We saw videos from the demonstrations in Iran during the Green Revolution and now of the presidential elections. Social media was a main tool for coordination and debate among protesters in the Arab Spring and the Occupy movement in the US. On the other hand, there are the recent revelations concerning PRISM, the surveillance program by the United States, the government of a country that was once a synonym for freedom, for magic, for the idea of anything goes. You see, a struggle has begun between state institutions and internet users. It is sometimes censorship, and very often, perhaps in the majority, governmental force against new tools and ways of communicating. And part of the magic is gone. Even more so if you look at the numbers. According to Global Voices, more than 370 bloggers worldwide are currently threatened or arrested. Reporters Without Borders, who are here today, counted 163 imprisoned netizens so far in 2013. In some countries, people who speak their mind online face actual real-life consequences. In Turkey, Twitter users were arrested for tweeting misinformation. In Vietnam, a blogger was arrested for abusing democratic freedoms, while in fact, his only crime was writing about government leaders and sensitive issues like a territorial row with China. We hear similar, if not worse, stories from Bangladesh, Malaysia, Dubai, Syria, China, Iran, Azerbaijan. I could go on for a very long time. I wouldn't do that here and today. But there are people like you who are courageous, who still use your voices, your skills, your creativity, and also your time and ideas. You cannot be silenced, you cannot be censored for long, I'm quite convinced, because you won't let those wicked witches do that to you. And you set an example for others to stand strong and fight for your rights. With initiatives like the BOBS, Deutsche Welle tries to support you and other activists around the world in that fight for democracy and human rights, for freedom of speech and equality. Journalism, as we understand it at Deutsche Welle and as you personally understand it, is no longer a one-way street where we broadcast and everyone has to listen. Instead, journalism is a multi-directional highway with communication flowing back and forth. Mutual journalism, that's how Alan Rusbridger, editor of The Guardian, calls it. Today's users, readers and viewers want to participate, they want to have a say. And we at Deutsche Welle, in all our 30-language programs, understand ourselves as stakeholders in that dialogue. We speak the languages of our users, use the media that they are using, and we talk about issues that are relevant to their lives. And we talk about it with them. We give people a voice, and together we promote human rights, political participation, and education. The BOBS are a symbol and a synonym for this endeavor. They award what is most important nowadays: courage and strength, a bright attitude, creativity. All of our winners here today have that. You make your voices heard, sometimes even despite censorship and oppression. You search for creative and innovative ways to shed light on social problems. You give minorities a voice, and you try to make sure that information can be accessed by everyone. You unflinchingly exercise your right to freedom of speech. And in the end, by doing all this, hopefully, you make this world a better place, perhaps even a magical one. Thank you for that. I think it's time to say thank you first. Because what you do, very often out of personal motivation, that is social media in its most original form. It mirrors deficits as well as progresses. It aims at social change or political improvement. It is used by society and it is useful for societies. The BOBS award the most courageous and creative projects, so please be proud to sit today in the first row here. With this award, we want to unmistakably point out how important your work is and will be as the struggle continues. We are very happy that you are here today, so once again, it's a great day to celebrate and honor your work. Keep up the magic. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Ute, and don't walk away too far. We need you in a second, not just to sort of to spray fairy dust, but to do something much more important. Ladies and gentlemen, before we can actually say thank you and congratulate the winners, we would like to shed a quick look at the work of the jury, because after the awards, nobody thinks about the jury anymore. And to talk about that work, I'd like to invite Shahidul Alam to join me here. And it would be absolutely lovely if you could talk to us not just about the jury work, but also about the trends that we've seen. By the way, Mr. Alam is also a multitude of things. As you were talking about a multidimensional highway, you're probably a sort of a multitasking man, which probably is a contradiction in terms, but that's just a private remark. Photographer, blogger, activist, teacher, speaker, anything that you like to mention from Dhaka? Okay. Shahidul, we had a quick chat beforehand, and I asked you to specify the changes in trends. I mean, last year we talked that there were many, many more women as authors in the web. Where has the trend been this year?
Two very interesting areas. One, the fact that in the past, bloggers have primarily dealt with the online space. I think this time we've seen very many more examples where it's been a hybrid of activism on the ground, physical activity, along with online activity. That has had several impacts, good and bad. For the bloggers themselves, it's actually become more dangerous, as you will see certainly with the RSF award, but also in terms of Bangladesh, the fact that there are now bloggers in jail, that they've had assassination attempts, death threats, and even if they leave jail, they're vulnerable because of the situation they find themselves in. But I think in terms of the contest itself, it was also much more varied than it has been. There was more humour. People were taking it in more interesting directions. There was introspection, the fact that the net space itself is being dissected by some of the bloggers. And I think overall, it gives us, I think it's a sign of the fact that the blogosphere has matured much more than it had done.
If it's matured, would you say it's already getting crowded, or is there still enough space for new ideas to come up, as we will see in a moment with our awardees?
I think it'll evolve. Certainly the figures have gone up, but I don't think that is an indication itself. I think the way in which bloggers are taking on the blogosphere is very, very exciting, in ways we hadn't ourselves considered.
Last question is, of course, the usual one. The jury has been working hard. Thank you very much. And I know that you've actually worked longer, i.e. sort of a day and a half. But, I mean, in the end, it means you have to come to a decision. I believe that is probably the hardest thing. How difficult was it this year?
It was, and it should be. I think the fact that these are really champions that we should celebrate, and the fact that they were all good did make and does make life more difficult for us. But in the end, I think while it might not have been unanimous, it never is, democratic spaces shouldn't be unanimous, I think. But I think we were largely in agreement because the quality was just so very good.
Thank you so much for getting us right into it. Thank you very much, Shahidul.
Thank you.
So now we're really getting started, ladies and gentlemen. Let's kick off with category number 1, and that's the most creative and original.
The award for most creative and original goes to Me and My Shadow.
Me and My Shadow was selected as most creative and original, I think, because it presents in a very playful and visually compelling way, allowing online users to see the digital traces that they leave through their online activities. Keeping yourself safe online is one of those behaviors that's really difficult to change. We fix our settings and then we often get complacent. So any tool that can allow us to discover really easily the risks we're taking, I think is going to be a winner.
And the winner is? Ladies and gentlemen, the winner is Stephanie Hankey as the director of Me and My Shadow, and I'd like her to come up here into the rotund, and Uta, of course. Please start doing your brilliant work. Stephanie, would you mind stepping into? Ladies, can I just ask you to come a bit more and grab the limelight in the true sense of the word? And remember, it hasn't happened until we have a photo of it. That hasn't changed, even though it might be an old-fashioned technology. In a couple of years, you'd love to look at that. Thank you so much. I would hope that you're okay. I get a nod from photographer Stephanie again. We had a quick chat beforehand, and Me and My Shadow is one project of many good projects that the Tactical Tech group is doing, a proper NGO. And we've just heard from Shahidul, there's a sort of hybrid aspect, i.e. one on the ground and the other one in the web. Do you identify with that hybrid aspect?
Yeah, definitely. And some of our work is looking at how activists can use digital technologies to collect information and share it. And unfortunately, when people are successful in doing that about sensitive issues, then they have a problem with their digital privacy and security. And that's what the project Me and My Shadow is about.
And privacy is not just sort of putting up a virus scanner and whatever it might be called, Kaspersky or blah, blah, blah. That doesn't protect my privacy.
No, and it's not just a technical problem we find, it's a problem with the choices people make about the information they give away, and also about what that means for freedom of expression and for the way in which people use the internet in general.
You've been on that road for quite a number of years, and of course it doesn't show. 10 years now you've been engaged with projects of that kind. But then Ute mentioned it, PRISM came along, and now you can't help yourself and your colleagues have too much to do?
We were already kind of in demand, I think, because there aren't many people looking practically at what you can do about these issues. But the last 2 weeks with the PRISM scandal has really changed the way people are thinking about alternatives and thinking about what they can actually do.
One quick tip in one sentence?
Think about what you're doing and maybe stay off the internet if you're doing something really sensitive.
Okay, that's probably one of the pieces of advice that the NGOs are getting from you, the human rights activists. You've actually trained them physically. How do they get to you, and who's paying for that?
They come to us in lots of different ways, usually through networks on the ground, and then we're doing direct training. And thanks to the kind support of some of our foundations and different organizations who help our work, some people pay directly. That's how it happens.
Fantastic. I know that you can continue your work. More than 500,000 people you've already reached. With the particular project, you've reached 1,800 people. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You just wanted to correct me?
Yes.
Go on.
I was being polite, but yeah. We trained 1,800 activists last year, and there's another project we have called Security in a Box, which is basically giving people tools, and this has about 500,000 users a year in 13 languages.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Congratulations. That's wonderful. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know how to be secure in the net, just have a look at Me in My Shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up to the next category, and that's the Global Media Award Forum Award.
The Global Media Forum Award goes to the Info Ladies.
The blog is called Info Lady, in Bangla, Totto Kollani, and it's a very innovative project. It combines the power of both online technology with women who go out in bicycles, with solar-powered laptops into homes of remote people, combines the two ends because she has access to experts who are available 24/7, give information to people who would not normally have access. I think it's revolutionary.
And there you've just seen the Info Ladies on the road, and one of those Info Ladies is with us now, Mahfuza Akhter. Wonderful you are with us, and we also need the translator. Would you please grab the limelight for a moment? We need you as well, thank you so much, because Mahfuza speaks Bangla, and we couldn't communicate. We had a very quick chat earlier, and I asked her, they started in 2010. How many girls are now trying to reach the villages with IT?
এরকম গ্রামে গিয়ে তোমাদের মতো তথ্য কল্যাণের কাজ করছে এটা জানতে চাচ্ছি।
এই মুহূর্তে আমরা যে বাংলাদেশে যে 65 জন মেয়ে কাজ করছি, যে আমরা যে কাজগুলো করছি আসলে আমাদের এত কষ্ট হয়েছে, যে এত চ্যালেঞ্জ করেছি, যে আসলে আমরা মেয়েরা, গ্রামের মেয়েরা যে কিছু না কিছু করতে পারবো, এই চ্যালেঞ্জ করে আমরা এই কাজটাতে নেমেছিলাম। যে আজ আমাদের এই চ্যালেঞ্জটা সার্থক হয়েছে, যে আমরা মেয়েরা, গ্রামের মেয়ে হলেও কিছু না কিছু করতে পারি, মানে কাজ করতে পারি আর কি।
At the moment, 65 women works as Info Lady, and their work when they have started, it was really complicated and very hard. But now they are satisfied and they are happy that they are village girls, but they can also contribute to the society.
And I had been asking beforehand who's paying them, and it's actually the communities who pay for the little services, so they're actually quite independent. That is quite interesting. I was also asking, how are you being received in the villages today, now that the people know that you exist?
খুব ভালোভাবে গ্রহণ করে, কারণ তাদের সব সমস্যাগুলোই আমরা সমাধান করার চেষ্টা করি। কারণ একটা লোকের যে ধরনের সমস্যা প্রতিনিয়ত কারো না কারো কোনো সমস্যা হয়ে আছে, সেক্ষেত্রে আমরা যে সেই সমস্যাগুলো সমাধান করি বিধায় তারা আমাদেরকে এখন খুব ভালোভাবেই দেখে।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
they appreciate her presence because she and other info ladies solves almost every problems these villagers face in their daily life.
Almost every problems that is connecting a Skype telephone connection, helping them fill in registration forms, etc. 68,000 villages in Bangladesh. How many info ladies would you need in order to help all these villages?
কত মানে সারা দেশের জন্য 4,000 আমরা টার্গেট করেছি যে 4,500 লোক যদি আমরা এরকম মেয়েরা কাজ করি তাহলে মোটামুটি করে আমরা পৌঁছে দিতে পারবো আর কি গ্রামে
She thinks if at least 4,500 girls like her work as an info lady, then they can provide services all over Bangladesh.
I think her work and that of her, at the moment, 68 colleagues is absolutely courageous because, after all, they are cycling across country on their own, taking along their laptop and their IT equipment. Thank you very much, both for your courage and also for the good that you're doing for those communities. Thank you. As we heard earlier, innovation does happen in the net. We see new things, new ideas coming up, and so one of our award categories is Best Innovation.
The award for Best Innovation goes to Free Weibo.
Free Weibo is a kind of service which provides the disappeared digital memory of what is censored. So in China, censorship is an ordinary daily basis of basic thing. So people look for social media and there are accounts deleted, there are messages deleted, but now they have a way to preserve the deleted message and to find out what is going on from the censorship side.
And the award winner is sitting in the first row in the middle, so could you please get up Carl Lee, representing a whole group of people that are staying anonymous, and Carl is here to represent them all. Ute? It's a bit heavier than one thinks, isn't it? I just got a nod, so you're right, you're on now. Carl, we had also a chat earlier, and you tried to sort of take me along the historic road. Free Weibo has only been in existence since last year, but it had a predecessor, which led automatically almost to this idea. What was the predecessor doing?
Well, the project started with GreatFire.org, and this was simply a way to keep track of what was being censored in China. So we were tracking URLs and websites that were being censored by the Chinese government.
Of course, you can only do that from outside. And how did you arrive at your results?
Well, what we realized when we were tracking this information is that really to effectively make some change, it had to happen from within. So from behind the firewall. And so in October 2012, we started freeweibo.com.
And that stands for?
Well, Free Weibo offers uncensored search results from the Sina Weibo website. So it really provides a glimpse into what an uncensored internet could be in China.
A glimpse that is being used already by 10,000 people, as you told me, daily. How do they get around censorship? Maybe you can share it. Maybe not too explicit, because I think the other side is listening as well.
Well, these 10,000 users that are visiting the site daily now are visiting the site by circumventing the firewall. And really what we want to do is make that information available to all of the Chinese internet users.
At the same time, you also give that vision of a free internet in China. Now, you yourself or your website must encounter quite a number of problems of actually being received in China.
Well, obviously it's blocked in China, but I think that it's very well received by actual Chinese citizens.
Okay, and we've heard our jury member already sort of giving you a great applause of what you're doing. What would be the sort of end result? I mean, you already said the vision is free internet access.
Well, really, by seeing this example of what it could be, that will really force people, not force them, but it'll show them what's possible. And when they see what's possible, they can pressure the government. And when they pressure the government, then they can make the change that they want.
Thank you so much, Carl.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Beautiful vision here. Thank you. We're going to go on to the next step, and we're actually going to an area which Shahidul might have also had in mind when you talked about the hybrid of two things. We're going to talk about best social activism now.
The award for Best Social Activism goes to 475.
The 475 initiative is a Moroccan initiative by young Moroccans after a lady committed suicide by being forced to marry a rapist, which is allowed in Morocco under the law number 475. And they decided to campaign, and they crowdfunded some money to shoot a documentary. But I think that beyond that, the jury gave the award to this particular initiative because it illustrates the fight against violences against women and rape.
And of course, she's here, Uda Lamkara, having arrived here from Rabat at the weekend. Thank you so much. This is your spot. Is representing a group of people that got together and that are trying to shed light on something that is really terrible. A woman has been raped, and the rapist can forego prison or worse by marrying her, even against her consent.
Exactly, that's even against the consent of the victim and against the law, because I just wanted to correct something that was said. It is not a law that allows this, it's a law that is manipulated by the authorities to accept these things.
It was one particular case that started it all off. One of your colleagues, who's actually a director, shed the light on that. So it was a cooperation, both in the web and with the film. Which helped which?
The web most certainly helped a lot to make the actual activism happen, and it was mostly, for example, using the Kickstarter platform and being completely crowdfunded, and that allowed us to stay independent and to rely on other activists that were trying to help us. So the web, as well as Facebook, Twitter, contacting people, that was incredibly helpful.
The typical journalistic question is, and what has come along? Have you had success? And we talked about that beforehand a little.
I wish I could say yes this easily. We're actually not fighting against the law, we're fighting against an attitude, and that is unfortunately not a Moroccan specificity, that is victim blaming and victim shaming, and that happens all around the world. So I think what we're trying to achieve is being part of this global debate. We're trying to address this issue, we're not the only ones. And I think this is one of the things also that getting this award has been helping us too, is bridging a global gap. And we're actually also here for the other activists all around the world, in India, in Brazil, in the US, who are fighting against sexual abuse and, for women and men's rights to choose and to decide for themselves.
I would assume that this particular variation of violence against women, one can call it that, is maybe sort of prevalent in the MENA region. Have you already had sort of people from, let's say, Tunisia, from Egypt, have a look at your initiative and say, well, we're actually facing similar problems, let's get together?
Well, no, that hasn't happened yet. We would all love to do something like that. So if there's anyone who's interested, we're taking. But yeah, no, the project was specifically about the Moroccan cases because, again, we know this is a universal issue and to each place there are specificities. So yeah, it was mostly about Morocco this time.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work and keep up the energy.
Thank you so much.
For those of you, ladies and gentlemen, who have been watching maybe the second or the third time the award ceremony, you all know that there is one special award, and that's the Reporter Without Borders Award. And in order to actually talk about the awardee, we actually need somebody from Reporters Without Borders. And as last year, I would like to ask Christian Mier to come and join me here. Christian Mier is responsible for the German section of Reporters Without Borders. Now, Christian, we'd actually been talking about the fact, similar to what we talked with Shahidul about, the tendency. Are there more net citizens in the surveillance of authorities and actually get killed than they used to be?
Yes, actually, that's a matter of fact. That's due to the growing importance of the internet, which is somehow logical. The surveillance is actually growing, and lots of actually Western companies are exporting such technology for surveying activists, online activists, netizens, some of those who have been awarded here with the BOPs, and that's actually a tragic tendency which we really observe in our daily work. And due to surveillance, we actually see another tendency that actually more and more online activists, netizens are killed. Actually, only this year, 9 activists, online activists, netizens have been killed. 8 of those are in Syria.
And the other one in?
The other one in Bangladesh.
We were talking about that earlier. It's not just the threat, but I believe there's also one difference, because most journalists, even in countries where they might be in danger when they sort of try and support the free press and free speech, they will be in one kind of association or other due to the individualistic outlook of sort of work on the net. Where would a net citizen look for help?
Well, I think there are some very practical tools how you can survive in the web. Some great tools as Stephanie Henke and Tactical Tech do. But we at Reporters Without Borders, we do very practical assistance. So if people are really in need and have to go out of the country, they can talk to us, and then we help them.
Now, of course, we're not just talking here abstractly, we're talking sort of for a specific reason, because, again, you have found somebody worthy of your award. The lady lives in Togo, and we'll meet her brother in a second. What are the specific challenges for somebody trying to use the web for humanitarian issues in Togo?
Well, actually, Togo is basically a country which sometimes is not that present in the world map, and I think that's one of the reasons why we choose this year this project from Togo, this very good blog, because Togo is a country ruled by one family for a long, long, long time, and most of the media in Togo, they are more or less close to the government or to the family, even if there is no censorship by law, but there's lots of self-censorship. There are lots of threats to journalists, attacks on journalists, and Fabi actually, she is doing a very great job because she's doing an impartial coverage of what happens in Togo, and I think that's why she really deserves this award.
You almost jumped the gun because, of course, we have also prepared a film on the background, so let's have a quick look at that.
Yeah.
The Reporters Without Borders Award goes to Fabi Kouhassi's blog.
Fabi's Kouhassi blog won the Reporters Sans Frontières Award because it symbolizes the freedom of expression and the plight of journalists in many African countries. She blogs about what journalists in her country suffer from brutalities mostly, and from punishment by the police. And I hope that this will bring West Africa some reward for the people who fight on ground for their freedom of expression and for freedom of the press.
And as Ute said before, Fabi can't be with us, this time not for reasons of censorship or of state influence, but for a really, really nice reason. And I'd like to ask the uncle of the newly born and the brother of Fabi, Kojo Kiki Kwasi, to join us here. And he will take the award in his sister's stead. So you grab the limelight. So you just have to sort of imagine a female face. Kojo, you've been living in Germany now for the last 18 years. How do you keep in touch with what your sister is actually doing in Togo?
First of all, I want to thank Deutsche Welle and all the partners, as well as Reporters Without Borders. I'm very thankful for that, to representing my sister here today. We keep in touch. I'm reading her blogs every day. We keep also in touch by new media, telephone, Twitter, Facebook, and yes.
We've been talking about the dangers to people that are outspoken in the net, that disclose wrongdoings by state and police authorities. Now, your sister is doing that very often. Have there been days when you were really worried about her safety?
I would say basically that we are worried every day. We are proud of her job, what she's doing, but we are worried every day. And sometimes she receives threat calls, and it's a danger. It's risk-taking, working as social activists, as journalists, denouncing a dictatorship who's old, 50 years old in Togo. I think it's a risky job. So
your sister has been working as a local journalist, then she worked for the BBC. Does that still give her a hint of protection?
Yes, of course. And also this award, for example, the most you were getting out from the anonymity, it's more protection you're having. Yes.
So actually, this award will help her. Do you think so?
Absolutely.
Well, in this case, I think we've done something wrong, right? And certainly reporters. Okay, we've done something right. Reporters Without Borders has done something right. And yes, you might take it to her. You might just send a photo to her. But I'm very sure that we've got enough film material now to convince her that she actually got this award. Congratulations to your sister.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm astonished. Either I was fast or my awardees were fast in their answers. We're already coming to the sort of the crowning finale, and that of course means we're getting to the best blog.
The award for best blog goes to Li Chengpeng.
I'm very glad that Li Chengpeng wins this year's Best Blogger Award. That shows the jury member also thinks that a blogger like Li Chengpeng, who can influence millions of Chinese young people to let them to be aware of the censorship, to be more free, more open, and to be more active in political process. He's a book author, he's a columnist, and he's a macro-blogger, and he's a blogger. He has a huge following among young people. On Sina Weibo, he has more than 7 million followers, and his blogs are visited by 300 million.
And now the winner will still stay where he is, because first of all, we need words of praise. You've just seen him in the film, now you see him live, and I would say in color, well, if he wasn't wearing a white shirt. The laudator is Hu Yong, and he himself is a blogger. He is a professor at the Beijing University, and he's also been a journalist, and he knows a hell of a lot about the Chinese blogosphere, so please take it away.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased and honored to give the laudation for Li Chengpeng on his winning the Best Blog Award at the Bobs 2012. Chengpeng grew up in China's remote Xinjiang area, where his father is a team leader of the so-called Mao Zedong thought performance teams. Under the banner, arts must serve the masses and arts must serve the politics, these teams were formed by both professional and amateur artists to deliver songs, dances, music, and mini dramas of pure propaganda value to the masses, including workers, peasants, and soldiers. So Chengpeng is very familiar with the installed ideology even in his childhood. Perhaps ever since he has been fascinated by the Chinese ways of speaking, or most of the times not speaking. In a talk at Peking University named Speak last year, Chengpeng traced that during the Great Famine in the late 50s and early 60s, the whole nation lost its language. Not only did they lie to their families and friends in political struggles, but they also lied to their own stomachs. So Chengpeng says, you can't say I'm hungry, and you can't say I love you, and you definitely can't speak the truth. Speaking as an animal instinct, a way of thinking, a right, it was taken away. Having lost the ability to speak the truth, we will tell many lies. For a people that had produced the world's most beautiful language, speaking has now become a great problem. Everyone is bored to death living in this sterile, plastic land of official discourse, repeating lies, deceptions, and ridiculous claims that everyone knows to be false. So what does Chengpeng do? No other than helping the Chinese regain the ability to speak. Chengpeng began his career as a journalist and first rose to prominence for covering on corruption within China's soccer establishment. Then in 2008, Chengpeng engaged in the investigation of the collapsed schools after the big Sichuan earthquake. It is this earthquake that turned Chengpeng into an activist, not only joining rescue efforts, but also criticizing the shoddy construction of school buildings, in which untold numbers of children died. In 2011, Chengpeng announced that he would seek political office as an independent candidate in his hometown of Chengdu, Sichuan province. So Chengpeng went to the office first thing on election day, only to be informed by a guard that the election had already taken place at 2:30 a.m. So needless to say, Chengpeng was not elected. But while doing a lot of activism, Chengpeng never stops writing. He becomes one of the most famous Chinese social commentator, best-selling author, and a popular blogger as well as macro-blogger. Chengpeng's new book, The Whole World Knows, was published this year, and he was forbidden to talk at all book signing events. The picture of him with a black mask and words written on his t-shirt, I love you all, becomes a symbol for young Chinese who are fighting for their freedom of speech because there is no other way out. Through brave individuals like Li Chengpeng, the Chinese will regain the ability to speak. The whole world knows. So here I offer Chengpeng my congratulations on his outstanding achievement in winning the Best Blog Award at the Bobs 2012. 祝贺你，程鹏。
Li Chengpeng, would you please join us? And Mian Tim. Absolutely fabulous. Maybe the two of you would like to read first. Thank you so much, Hu Yong. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Best Blog 2013 at the Deutsche Welle Bobs award. It must be really nice to now sort of have a little bit of success and talk about it, because last year you were not allowed to talk, were you?
其实是今年嘛，今年你这个签书的时候是不能够讲话的，现在你可以讲话，是不是一件很好的事情？
来到这个可以自由讲话的地方，其实我想说的还是刚才你们在视频里看到的那4个汉字，4个汉字翻译成英文就是 I love you。我想大家可能知道，在我的祖国是一个新闻审查和出版审查异常严厉的一个国度。好在我们用我们的坚强和智慧对抗它的严厉，最好的武器就是爱。非常感谢德国之声，非常感谢今天到场所有的人和我的所有的读者，我爱你们。
You've got to give her a chance to translate.
Yes, I do. Well, I have come to this place where you can express yourself freely. And what I want to say is still, I love you all. We all know that in China the censorship is really harsh. But I think love is the greatest weapon to encounter such kind of censorship. And I want to really thank Deutsche Welle and thank you, Bobs, for giving me this chance today.
而且，像德国之声的这个播客的比赛，有的评委和有的作者因为种种原因无法今天来到现场。今天我也斗胆地代表他们，告诉你们，我爱你们，谢谢。
There are also other winners and some jury members now and also in the past who cannot make it here out of different reasons. And I just would like to dare to say, I love you all on behalf of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have heard it from Hu Jong, who mentioned the 2008 earthquake as a turning point in your career as a blogger. You were already popular then, but ever since then, you have become more and more popular. Again, a question I asked earlier, how often is your blog blocked?
最主要问题就是说您的博客这个访问量啊，或您的这个发文量大概是怎么样一个情况？ Is more how many texts he has published or how many times it is read by other people?
How many it is blocked?
Okay.
Because
blocked. Okay,
blocked.
I see. 还是我们之前谈过，就是被封、被屏蔽的那个次数。
可能我们的网络监管部门比我更清楚我写了多少文章。在我印象中应该是将近一半都看不见了。
He says actually the censorship government bureaus, they know much more clearly how many texts I have written, because I think half of them have now disappeared.
And when you look at the website, I mean, whilst I can't read Chinese, you can look at a website. It's just quite innocent, sort of a nice light background, a little bit of coverage of your books, and a lot of text. So from the outside, of course, it looks very innocent. What do you suspect do the authorities fear from your blog?
假如只是单单看一下你的博客，不会觉得它特别具有危险性，因为不就是很多的文字，还有比方说你的书的封面。那这个有关部门或者政府，他们为什么会恐惧你所写的东西，你的博客？
其实事实上，这是我自小学4年级以后第一次获得写作奖。那时候我的国家大家很爱，上千万人都爱写同一个标题，叫“马路边捡了1分钱”。而我那次得奖是因为我撒了谎，我说我捡了1块钱。
Actually, this is the first prize I've ever won since the 4th grade in my primary school. At that time, at that time, I lied to win the prize because, tens of thousands of Chinese always write, I have picked up 1 cent on the street, and of course to give it to the police officer. But I wrote, I have picked up 1 yuan. Actually, I stole it from my mother.
Oh.
后来，我妈妈在我得奖以后才发现她的钱包少了1块钱。
So after the prize, my mother has discovered that there is 1 yuan less in her yes.
但是我得了奖，之后我因为一个谎言得了奖，之后几十年没有得过奖。像我这样的作家是不可以得奖的，因此，大家可以知道，真话对他们来讲是永远不可以表彰的，因为真话可以告诉世界的真相。所以表面看我的 blog 非常普通，实际上我只是说了13亿人民都想说的话而已，他们很害怕。
Thank you. Just quick summary.
Well, so as you have heard that at that time I lied to win the award, and in the following 30 years I haven't won anything. So we can see from this point that in China you will not be awarded for telling the truth, because if you tell the truth, the people will know how it really is. I just want the whole world to know the truth. In my blog, I have written nothing as the truth, other than the truth.
Please forgive me. We should come to the end, and I know this man has so many wonderful stories in him, but I would like to do something that you shouldn't do in journalism, try to repeat something. You remember when we talked earlier, I asked you, it seems that you're always with 1 foot in prison, and you told me about a dream or a nightmare. Maybe you can take us along into this world.
就之前在谈话的时候，你也讲到过你之前所做的这个梦。当时是主持人在问你是不是有一种感觉，是你的一只脚已经踏入了监狱。你现在能再带我们进入你当时的那个梦想的之旅？
中国有句话叫“日有所思，夜有所梦”。就白天你想什么，担心什么，晚上会梦到什么。
Well, in China there is an old saying: "What you think about in the daytime, you will dream of in the night."
那天晚上梦到了很多 policeman， 他们请我喝茶，而喝茶在现在中国已经不是个文化术语，而是一个社会术语。我那天晚上还是挺害怕的，我就醒来。事实上我被误解很久，我不是个很勇敢的人，我时时也充满恐惧。
Well, in that dream, I dreamed of policemen, and they have invited me to tea. And in China, drinking tea is no more something cultural. It means that they want to monitor your life. So I really got scared in that night. Actually, I'm not a very, very brave man. Actually, in every moment, I have fear in my mind.
我想我们在座每个人都不敢说自己是勇敢的。我们最勇敢的地方就是敢于用我们的写作、我们的互联网发出声音，以战胜恐惧。我想对于我个人来讲，写作是战胜恐惧的唯一一个渠道。所以说我一直在写，他们一直在删，在写和删之间，我就来到了德国，非常感谢。
I think nobody from us can say that he is a very brave man, has no fears. And the only way for me to conquer this fear is to write. And that's why I keep writing, and they keep deleting. So between this writing and their deleting, I come here to Germany.
Thank you so much. What a great job. Thank you. And I believe that's something so many of you do. Can you please all come back here, all the award winners, come back here because we need you all for the grand finale, ideally with your awards, if they're not too heavy. And ladies and gentlemen, whilst they will all congregate here, you can also give them one more round of applause for civil courage, for speaking out for democracy and freedom, and for risking their lives. Thank you so much for all your efforts. All get together and give us a smile. And Ute in the middle, please. Big smile here. And for those of you, ladies and gentlemen, who are looking forward to a nice evening, I can promise you no rain. I hope that I can promise you no rain. Get out of fear, cross the road, always straight, and there is going to be a wonderful reception. And if you are insecure, just follow the others. Just make sure that they know the way. These certainly know the way, but they need a little bit longer to celebrate here before they will join you over at the venue. And I know each and every one of you will have an invitation. Do enjoy tonight, and see you tomorrow morning, 9:30, back and fresh.